Okay, so imagine this for a moment. You're sitting comfortably at home watching this video. Outside your window, everything feels normal. The sky, the air, the ground beneath your feet. Earth feels safe, but beyond our small corner of the cosmos, the universe becomes something else entirely. So buckle up. We're leaving Earth behind, and we're heading straight into the cosmic nightmare. Number 10. 55 Cancri E, the planet with two faces. Imagine a world so close to its star that a full year lasts only 18 hours. That's 55 Cancri E. This super Earth orbits so close to its sun that gravity has locked it into a permanent position, always showing the same side to its star. Just like our moon always shows the same face to Earth, the result is horrifying. One hemisphere exists in eternal daylight. Temperatures exceed 2000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt rock, hot enough to create vast oceans of lava stretching across the horizon. But cross to the other side of the planet and everything changes. There, sunlight never arrives. The world remains trapped in endless darkness. Between these two extremes lies a narrow twilight zone where unimaginable temperature differences generate violent atmospheric currents and storms of vaporized rock. This isn't a planet. It's two completely different worlds stitched together by gravity. In other words, one side burns forever, one side freezes forever, and neither side wants you alive. Number 9. Koro T7b, the world where it rains stone. If lava oceans sound bad, Korot 7b somehow makes things worse. Astronomers believe this world may once have resembled Jupiter, but its star was so close that it gradually stripped away the entire atmosphere, exposing the scorched planetary core underneath. Today, the dayside reaches temperatures above 2,200 degrees Celsius, hot enough for rock itself to evaporate. Think about that for a second. Mountains don't simply melt, they boil. Minerals rise into the atmosphere as vapor. Higher up, they cool, condense, and eventually fall back toward the surface as rain. Not water, not acid, rock. Entire weather systems built from stone. In other words, on Earth, clouds bring rain. On Koroti 7b, the sky brings geology. Number 8. Gliese 436b, the planet of burning ice. Now things become truly bizarre because Gliese 436b seems to violate common sense. This Neptune-sized world orbits so close to its star that temperatures exceed 400 degrees Celsius. At those temperatures, ice should be impossible, and yet the planet appears to contain enormous quantities of it. How? Gravity. The planet's immense mass compresses water molecules so intensely that they remain locked into an exotic solid state despite the extreme heat. The pressure becomes so overwhelming that the ice cannot melt normally. The result is something that sounds impossible: ice that exists inside an environment hot enough to melt lead. A frozen world trapped inside a furnace. In other words, if physics had a list of things that shouldn't exist, burning ice would probably be near the top. Number 7. Koro T3b, the planet that crushes everything. Sometimes the most terrifying thing about a planet isn't its temperature, it's its gravity. At first glance, Koro T3b doesn't look particularly unusual. It's roughly the size of Jupiter, but appearances can be deceiving because hidden inside that familiar size is nearly 20 times Jupiter's mass. Astronomers still debate whether it should even be called a planet or a failed star known as a brown dwarf. Either way, one thing is certain: you would never survive there. The gravity is estimated to be around 50 times stronger than Earth's. Imagine weighing 70 kilograms here. On Koro T3b, you'd effectively weigh more than 3.5 tons. You wouldn't be able to stand. You wouldn't be able to move. Your bones would collapse under their own weight. Your organs would compress. And within moments, gravity itself would become your executioner. In other words, some planets don't burn you. Some don't freeze you. Some simply crush you into the ground. Number 6. WASP 12b, the planet being eaten. Alive. Most planets orbit their stars peacefully for billions of years. WASP 12b is not one of them. This giant gas world circles so close to its star that it is literally being torn apart. The star's gravity stretches the planet into an enormous egg-like shape. It no longer resembles a perfect sphere. It's being deformed by tidal forces so powerful that its atmosphere is actively spilling into space. And where does that atmosphere go? Straight into the star. Every second, billions of tons of gas are pulled away from the planet and consumed. Astronomers estimate that, on cosmic timescales, WASP 12b is living on borrowed time. Eventually, it may disappear completely, swallowed by the very star it once orbited. In other words, this isn't just a planet, it's a world slowly watching itself die. Number 5. Carbon planets, oceans of tar and gasoline. Now, let's move away from confirmed planets and into one of the strangest possibilities in planetary science: carbon planets. These hypothetical worlds could exist in regions of the galaxy where carbon greatly outnumbers oxygen, and if they do exist, they would be unlike anything we've ever seen. On Earth, oxygen dominates our chemistry, water fills our oceans, life depends on it. But on a carbon world, everything changes. Instead of blue seas, you might find vast oceans of tar. Instead of fresh water, lakes of hydrocarbons. The atmosphere could be filled with toxic carbon compounds, and storms might release methane and other flammable chemicals into the environment. The result would be a landscape that feels less like a planet and more like an endless industrial nightmare, a world built from the ingredients of fire. In other words, imagine Earth, then remove the water and replace it with fuel. Number 4. WASP 76b, the world where it rains iron. If there is one planet on this list that sounds completely fictional, it's this one. WASP 76b is an ultra-hot gas giant located hundreds of light years away. The dayside reaches temperatures above 22,400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize metals, not melt them, vaporize them. Iron becomes gas. It rises into the atmosphere and is carried by powerful winds toward the cooler night side of the planet. There, temperatures drop dramatically, the iron cools, condenses, and falls as rain, liquid iron rain. Imagine standing beneath a storm where molten metal falls from the sky like water. Entire weather systems made from one of the most common elements in the universe. In other words, on Earth, rain helps sustain life. On WASP 76b, rain is a weapon. Number 3, J1SAMF07b, the Super Saturn. Saturn's rings are one of the most beautiful sights in our solar system. Now, imagine something hundreds of times larger. That's J1407b. This giant world possesses the largest ring system ever discovered. The rings stretch for nearly 120 million kilometers. To put that into perspective, they are roughly 640 times larger than Saturn's. If this planet replaced Saturn in our own solar system, its rings would dominate our sky, night after night, a permanent cosmic structure hanging overhead. It would be breathtaking and terrifying because those rings aren't decorative. They're made of enormous amounts of rock, ice, dust, and debris orbiting at incredible speeds. A gigantic gravitational machine constantly reshaping everything around it. In other words, J1407b looks beautiful from a distance, but beauty and safety are not the same thing. Number 2, HD 189733b, the Blue Nightmare. At first glance, this planet looks surprisingly familiar. Blue, beautiful, almost peaceful. Through telescopes, it even resembles Earth, and that's exactly what makes it so deceptive. Because there are no oceans there, no beaches, no calm skies. The blue color comes from silicate particles suspended in the atmosphere. Essentially, tiny fragments of glass. And then things get worse. The winds reach speeds of over 8,000 kilometers per hour, faster than most bullets, faster than many aircraft. At those speeds, the glass doesn't gently fall from the sky. It blasts sideways across the planet in a permanent hyperspeed sandstorm. Anything exposed to that atmosphere would be shredded almost instantly. In other words, HD 189733b may be the most beautiful planet ever discovered, and also one of the deadliest. Number 1. OTS 44, the Cosmic Predator. Most planets belong somewhere. They orbit stars. They follow predictable paths. They are part of systems. OTS 44 isn't. This enormous rogue world drifts alone through interstellar space. No sun, no warmth, no home. With roughly 11 times the mass of Jupiter, it wanders through the darkness between stars. And that's what makes it terrifying, because unlike the other planets on this list, OTS 44 isn't trapped in one place, it's moving. If a rogue object of this size passed through a young planetary system, its gravity could disrupt entire orbits. Worlds could be thrown into deep space, others could collide, some might be pulled into their stars, and then the rogue planet would simply continue its journey. Silent, invisible, unstoppable. Astronomers believe there may be millions of rogue planets drifting through the Milky Way right now, lost worlds wandering in the dark. In other words, the greatest danger in space may not be the planets we know about. It may be the ones we never see coming. And when you look at worlds like these, something becomes clear. Earth is not normal. We often think of our planet as ordinary because it's all we've ever known. But the deeper astronomers explore the universe, the stranger everything becomes. Worlds of lava, worlds of burning ice, worlds where iron falls from the sky, worlds consumed by their own stars, and lonely giants wandering endlessly through the darkness between solar systems. The universe is beautiful, but it is also unimaginably hostile, and perhaps that's what makes Earth so extraordinary, because among all this chaos, somehow, life found a way. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these planets terrified you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and remember, the universe doesn't reveal its secrets to those who rush. It reveals them to those who know how to look. Subscribe and keep listening to the silence.